Living with a toxic person, difficult person, an immature person can be a challenging experience to say the least. And one of the things that makes it difficult is the guilt and responsibility that comes with the relationship. They are masters at making you feel responsible for everything that goes wrong in the relationship. And it can leave you feeling guilty, anxious, and constantly questioning your own actions. It's important to remember that you're not responsible for everything that goes wrong in the relationship. It takes two people to make a relationship work, and it takes two people to make it fail. Narcissists are experts at manipulating situations to make you feel responsible for their behavior. They may blame you for their mistakes or try to make you feel guilty for standing up for yourself. The truth is, you're not responsible for their actions or behavior. You're only responsible for your own actions and behavior. It's important to set boundaries and stand up for yourself when necessary, but it's equally important to not take responsibility for everything. Now, doing so can lead to feelings of guilt, shame, and a loss of sense of self-worth. Now, it's important to recognize that the narcissist's behavior, that toxic person's behavior, their failure to do their part is not your fault. You cannot control their actions or change their behavior. The only thing you can control is your own response to their behavior. And if you continue to feel guilty or responsible for everything, it's time to take a step back and work on yourself. You deserve to be happy and healthy, and that starts with recognizing that you're not responsible for everything. Now, shame can overwhelm you too. People can feel shame after trauma in narcissistic relationships because the narcissist often manipulates and gaslights their victim into believing that the abuse is their fault. They are skilled at shifting blame, making their victim feel responsible for their behavior and making them doubt their own reality. And this can lead to a sense of shame and self-blame, as the victim may believe they should have been able to prevent or stop the abuse. Additionally, the trauma itself can be deeply shameful and embarrassing, making the victim feel isolated and alone in their experience. It is important for survivors of narcissistic abuse to recognize that the shame they feel is a result of the abuser's manipulation and not their own fault. Now, what are some of the strategies you can undertake to overcome your guilt and shame? One thing is recognize that it takes two people to contribute to relationship difficulties and to make it successful, and you can't be the only one working, chugging along, doing the heavy weightlifting for two people to make a relationship work. And acknowledge it that the narcissist is a master at making others feel guilty and responsible. Number 3 is understand that you cannot control their behavior or actions. Number 4, practice self-compassion and self-care to help alleviate feelings of guilt. Number 5 is seek support from trusted friends, family, or a therapist to process and heal from the relationship. Number 6, take responsibility for your own errors. It's important to not take responsibility for everything in the relationship, but it's equally important to take responsibility for your own errors. Recognize where you may have made mistakes or caused harm, and work to make amends and improve yourself moving forward. This can help alleviate feelings of guilt and empower you to take control of your actions and choices. Now, let go of the idea that you can change the narcissist or fix the relationship. Acceptance can be a difficult but important step towards moving on and healing. Now, let's take Vidura's example from the Vedic scripture of Mahabharata. And it's a shining example of how you can maintain your self-confidence and wisdom in the face of toxicity. Vidura was surrounded by people like Dhritarashtra, Duryodhana, Dushasana, and Shakuni, who mistreated him and used harsh words against him. Despite this, Vidura remained sure of himself, remained assertive, and remained sure of the advice he gave to them. He did not take responsibility for their negative behavior nor believe their opinions of him, and maintained his own integrity. And he advised them, Dhritarashtra, Duryodhana, Dushasana, Shakuni, to do the right thing and follow dharma. But they continued to make toxic, narcissistic, entitled decisions, selfish decisions that harmed the Pandavas and many others. And despite being mistreated and surrounded by such toxic people, Vidura did not feel guilty or take responsibility for their actions. He knew that he had given them the right advice, but they had chosen to ignore it. And though he felt helpless in the face of their behavior, he maintained his self-confidence and wisdom and did not allow their toxicity to impact him. This is also because he was very solid and very sure in himself. He was very sure of his spiritual identity, and he was very sure of his unwavering commitment to the Lord and his unfailing devotion to him that played his significant role in his ability to remain solid in the face of blame and mistreatment from them. His faith gave him a sense of purpose, and a higher perspective that allowed him to see beyond the petty politics of the court and focus on what was truly important. He remained steadfast in his values and convictions despite the challenges he faced. And this inner strength and solidness in his own self and devotion gave him the courage to stand up for what was right, even at the risk of being totally alone, even when it meant going against those in power. Now, his example serves as an inspiration for all those who face difficult situations and seek to remain true to their principles. And it's important that you're solid in your own self, you're self-partnered strongly, you're self-loving, and you're very strongly connected to God. So always remember that you deserve to be happy and healthy, and it's okay to prioritize your own needs and feelings. It's not your responsibility to fix everything or take on the blame for the other person's actions.